Okay, so let's attempt another question. Let's look at this question. A man is 4 times as old as his son. In 4 years' time, he will be 3 times as old. What are their ages now? What are their ages now? Okay, there are some things we need to note here. The father is 4 times as old as his son. His son's age is unknown. His son's age is unknown. Therefore, we are going to use a letter to represent that unknown number of years. Now, let the son's age be n. Let the son's age be n. Now, n can represent the age of his son. Now, so if n is his son's age, the man's age will now be 4 times n. 4 times n. It's 4 times n because they said in the question that the man is 4 times as old as his son. He's 4 times as old as his son. Therefore, the man's age now will be 4n, since we have decided to use n as the son's age now. So the son's age now is n and the father's age is 4n. 4n, father's age. Son's age, n years old. Okay. Now, there's one striking statement in that question you need to note. They said in 4 years' time. Now, there is a change. 4 years' time. Remember, 4 years' time has to do with what? Us advancing in age. In 4 years' time, I'm not going to be younger, I'm going to be older. In 4 years' time, you are not going to be younger, you are going to be older. So, now, this man is 4n old. That's 4n old. That n is the years now. That's 4n years old. Okay. Now, the boy is n years old. In 4 years, if the boy is n years old now, in 4 years, the boy what? N plus 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. N plus 4 years old. The man will now be at the time, that's at, when it's now 4 years, the man will now be 4n plus 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 4n plus 4 years. So the man will be 4n plus 4 years old in 4 years. And the son will be what? N plus 4 years in 4 years. So we've established that fact now. Therefore, in 4 years, the man will be what? 4n plus 4 years old. But then, I want you to note this very simple, striking statement. This man, in 4 years, will be now 3 times. This man will now be 3 times as old as his son in 4 years' time. Now remember, the son will now be what? N plus 4. N plus 4 years. So in 4 years, the man will now be equivalent to what? 3 open bracket, n plus 4. Remember, the man will be 3 times as old as his son in 4 years. In 4 years, the man will be what? 3 times as old as his son. Now, that statement can now be interpreted in this format. In 4 years, the man already is going to be what? 4n plus 4. But that 4n plus 4 will be equivalent to 3 open bracket n plus 4. 3 open bracket n plus 4. Therefore, our two expressions will now be equivalent to this very simple statement. 4n plus 4 is equal to 3 open brackets n plus 4. That is now the interpretation of the question that we were given. From there, we can now proceed and solve our question. Now, our 4n plus 4 is equal to 3 open bracket n plus 4. Now, our 3 open bracket n plus 4, of course, if you expand, will now be 3 times n and 3 times 4. Now, your 3 times n will give you 3n. Your 3 times 4 will give you 12. So, at the right-hand side, we are going to be able to get what? 3n plus 12. But at the left-hand side, we are still going to be having 4n plus 4. So, now, our step breakdown will now be what? 4n plus 4 is equal to 3n plus 12. At this point, collect like terms and solve. By collecting like terms, I mean let like go to like. 3n and 4n are like because they have something in common, which is n. Okay, now 12 and 4 are like because they are just numbers. So 4 will now leave the left-hand side to the right-hand side and will now change its sign. So your 4n was plus in the left-hand side, but right now it will now be what? Minus at the right-hand side. So 4n will now be what? Minus at the right-hand side. So you will be having 12 minus 4 at the right-hand side. Whereas you are now going to be having your 4n minus 3n at the left-hand side because your 3n is now changing shift to the next path for the other side of what? The equation. So you have 4n minus 3n at the left-hand side. Your 4n minus 3n is going to give you 1. So at the left-hand side, you have n. You don't write 1n, please. You don't write 1n, please. So you now have n. 4n minus 3n is n. 2n minus n is n. 5n minus 4n is n. So in this case, 4n minus 3n is n. Please don't write 1n. Write n. 4n minus 3n is n. It's now equivalent to what? Our 12 minus 4. Your 12 minus 4 in mathematics is what? 8 is 8. Okay, so your n is 8. So for this particular question, our n is 8. Simple. But we're not done because we need to find the age of his father. So for the son's age now, which we were able to indicate as n at the beginning because we did not know what it was, is now 8 years. But the father's age at the time was what? 4n. So you can now say 4 times 8 since n is 8. 4 times 8 since n is 8. If you multiply 4 by 8, you're going to get 32, which will now be your final answer for the man's age. So the man's age now is 32. 4 times 8 is 32. Now the son's age now is 8 years old. The son is 8 years old. Simple. It's as simple as that. And you're done. You're done. Thank you so much.